I've got a team here playing the Nexus game. It's a game I'm going to be playing in Russia for the first time publicly. This is a private course, Clear Vision. And what's happening here, I've got two teams, two Scrum teams, and normally with Nexus you'd have 3 to 9 Scrum teams. With two Scrum teams you mightn't even need to have a synchronization pattern, but this particular team, these two teams they're going to use it just to understand Nexus a bit better. And Nexus has some additional characteristics. So for example, the product backlog refinement activity in Scrum is actually an event in Nexus, and we need to be careful as well in terms of how we do the planning. So the Nexus integration team does some planning, which then informs the Scrum teams, and then they pull work in agreement with the product owner. Product backlog refinement is a key aspect because we need to minimize dependencies between the teams, and we also need to make sure there's a potentially shippable increment at the end, so both teams are working together to produce a combined sprint review at the end. So there's a Nexus goal as well, and I'll be making sure the guys are doing that. So they've got a 45-minute sprint, and there's just about to start sprint 1. And we're being consistent with the Scrum guide. We're not using a sprint 0. I gave them a very rough backlog. It is already valued using value points. It just used an estimation technique using currency, t-shirt size. It's already value pointed. They're now going to have to figure out how big this baby is, and they're going to have to come up with some kind of t-shirt size, some currency size, where we're going away from Fibonacci here because we want to make sure there's a big difference between the estimates. And the team are then going to divide the value by the effort, which is based on complexity and risk. We consider complexity and risk rather. That'll be the very rough ranking technique. They could have used cost of delay or something else fancy, but we're just experimenting with Nexus. That's the learning outcome for today. So they're going to start using that now. In sprint 1, they're probably going to spend most of the time trying to get themselves organized, but they still have to deliver some value. So I don't mind. One of the items is a really simple one where they put some balls into a target. There are some much more complicated and complex items, like where they have to learn about scaling patterns like Prince 2 Agile, Scaled Agile, Disciplined Agile 2, Less, and so on. So they'll probably do some of that later, but we would have been doing sprint 0 if they were refining the backlog before sprint 1. So we're trying to be consistent with Scrum, and we're going to go in now and see how they're doing. Cheers.